Floating point numbers. Why we will read floating point numbers? Floating point numbers are very useful in computer programming. And what is a floating point number? A floating point number is either a positive number or negative number, that is positive or negative whole number with a decimal point. For example, 3.16. You see, 3 is a whole number and these are the decimal points. 1 is a decimal point, 6 is a decimal point. So this is a positive whole number with a decimal point 1, 6. Similarly, 4.523. Here you have also a positive whole number with 3 decimal points. 0.6924. Here you have 4 decimal points. Minus 53.27. Here you have a negative whole number with decimal points 27, that is 2 decimal points. So these decimal points, they are called the floating point numbers. And these decimal point numbers can float to any required position. You cannot float this whole number, but these decimal numbers can float, or you can take it to any positions according to your requirement. So in computer science, the floating point numbers are called floats. These floating point numbers, we basically in computer science it is called floats. And take the case of C language or C programming, in a C compiler, we use these floats as a key point or keyword. So if the variable type is either a real or floating point, we use the keyword float. Here you see you have real point and points, and also you have floating points or decimal points. So if you need this type of output in computer or C programming, you use the keyword float. That means in C programming, if you use the keyword float x, and this will give you the value like this type of numbers. The output of your programming will be this type of numbers. That means with numbers with floating points. Similarly, if you use the keyword float average, then the average of some numbers or average of some inputs you give, that will also give the result will give this type of numbers. So you should remember about the floating point numbers, that is the numbers with either positive or negative whole number with a decimal point. If you have no whole number, here you see you have no whole number, that means the whole number is 0. No whole number means the whole number is 0, and you have some decimal points. And most important to remember in floating point numbers is that the whole number, it will not float, but the decimal numbers or the decimal positions, that will float. You should remember this thing in floating point numbers in computer programming. So in our next video, while we will do the C programming, we will read in detail about floating point numbers and how you use the keyword float in C programming. You will read later on. Thank you.